everyone, and welcome back to part 2 of my list of shows that I've been to see. In part 1, which if you haven't seen, I'll link it up here and it'll also be in the description box, I managed to get through A to L of the shows that I've seen, so we've still got a long way to go. I'll kick it off with another one of my favourite West End classic shows, and that is of course Les Miserables at the Queen's Theatre. I think out of all the big shows in London to go see, this is like one of the best. My next show is another West End classic that I haven't been to see in like 7 years now, which is just ridiculous. I must go see it again, and that's The Lion King at the Lyceum Theatre. The Lion King was one of my favourite films as a kid. I loved it so much. I think I actually broke my cousin's VHS copy of it. Yes, VHS, I'm old. So obviously I loved it in the West End. It's stunning. My next show is one that I saw a few years ago now actually, and that was Loserville at the Garrick Theatre. This was a really fun, geeky, quirky show that I really enjoyed. The creative team have done some similar shows to it and they're just really fun. The next show on my list was a bit of a weird one. It's kind of like the Elvis equivalent for Jersey Boys, and that was Love Me Tender at the Wimbledon Theatre. It was very odd. I'll just leave it at that. The next show is another jukebox and is Mamma Mia at the Novello Theatre. Mamma Mia isn't my favourite show, I have to admit, but it is really fun and you leave the theatre with ABBA songs stuck in your head. So the next show on my list is without a doubt one of my top favourite shows, and I would be heartbroken if they announced it was closing, and that is Matilda at the Cambridge Theatre. There's quite a few vlogs on my channel about seeing Matilda, so you can go and have a look for those if you like, but I just love this show. My next show is one that I definitely think closed too soon, and that was Memphis at the Shaftesbury Theatre. I feel like there's a bit of a curse on the shows that go into that theatre. They never seem to do that well, but Memphis was so good. Next on my list is a show that I wasn't really that keen on and everyone else seemed to love it, and that was Merrily We Roll Along, and I'm pretty sure it was at the Harold Pinter Theatre. I didn't see what everyone else was seeing, I think. The next show on my list is a bit of an odd one, but was actually really hilarious, and this was Miss Atomic Bomb at the St James Theatre. It was just really bizarre and it worked for them. The next show on my list is a classic, and while it's not like my favourite show that I've seen, I'm really grateful to have seen it, and that was Miss Saigon at the Prince Edward Theatre. I'm really intrigued to see how they filmed it for the movie version, because I've heard quite a few mixed things about it. Next on my list is another play, and this was Mojo. I can't remember what theatre this was at, but it had Rupert Grint in it, so it was really nice to see him on stage. I wouldn't say this is my favourite play I've seen, but it was pretty cool to see Rupert on stage. Next on my list is a show that I saw quite recently, so there's a vlog of it if you'd like to see more of my opinions on it, and that was Murder Ballad at the Arts Theatre. I saw it when it was in previews, so I don't know if it's changed much since I went to see it, but as I say, you can go and check out the full vlog of that. Next is a show that I've seen snippets of, and then like a kind of more workshopped performance, and I'm actually going to see the full show next month, and that's Muted, which was originally like at the Cockpit Theatre, and then I saw a bit of it at the St Paul's Actors Church, and then I'm going to the new Bunker Theatre to see it next month, which I'm really excited about, to visit the Bunker Theatre, and yeah, I'm really excited to see what they've done with it. The next show is another classic, and that's Oliver, which I went to see at Sheffield's Crucible Theatre. It was their Christmas show a few years back, and Hayley Gallivan, who was previously Stand By Elphaba, that's the last show that she's done actually for a while, and she's just a fantastic performer, so I loved seeing her as Nancy in that. The next show on my list is one that breaks my heart, but I absolutely adore it, and that's Once, which was at the Phoenix Theatre. I also went to Dublin to see it last summer. There is a video of that because I had to see it in its home city in Dublin, and it was just gorgeous. It's a beautiful show. Next up is another play, and this is One Man, Two Governors. It's a very slapstick comedy play, and it's so funny. If it goes on tour again, definitely go see it. It's just absolutely hilarious. Next we have a little fringe show called Pipe Dream, which was at the Old Union Theatre. This was a few years ago that I went to see that, and it had a couple of people that I know in it, and it was just a really sweet little fringe show. From the fringe to another West End classic on my list is Phantom of the Opera. Phantom of the Opera I find is an amazing show. It's not like one of my favourites, I don't rush to go and see it, but I did have a friend in it last year who was understudy Phantom, so it was a pleasure to see him playing the role. Moving on into art, we have Rent the musical, which I saw on its tour 3 years ago now. I'm going to hopefully see it at the St James Theatre as well this Christmas, but I mean, who doesn't love Rent? It's a great show. Next we have Romeo and Juliet, which I've seen a ballet of at the Royal Opera House and also at the Garrick Theatre this year. I mean, both very different productions, both very brilliant. On my list next we have Showboat, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but yeah, it had an amazing cast and I really wish I'd enjoyed it more than I did. A complete contrast to that, we next have Shrek on my list, which I saw at Milton Keynes Theatre last year. I mean, that show is just crazy, but a lot of fun. On a similar vein, we then have Sideshow, which I saw very recently. There is a video of that if you want to see more of my thoughts on it. That was at the Southwark Playhouse and was really brilliant. Next we have another West End classic with Singing in the Rain at the Palace Theatre. I loved this show. I'm so sad we don't have it anymore because it just made me so happy, and I mean, I'm very grateful that we have Harry Potter and the Cursed Child now, but I do miss Singing in the Rain a lot. Next up we have a production of Songs for a New World, which I saw a production of last year at the St James Theatre. This was a really fascinating one. I knew some of the songs but didn't really know how they were staged, so it was really interesting to finally see that show. After that we have Stephen Ward, which was at the Aldwych Theatre, I believe, which was an interesting show to say the least. Next, another beautiful classic, I went to see Swan Lake at the Royal Opera House. I think this was actually one of the first shows that I went to see at the Royal Opera House, but it was so beautiful. I mean, if you're gonna see anything done as a ballet, it's got to be that, hasn't it? Another show that I've seen this year, finally, is The Bodyguard. I didn't see it the last time it was in the West End or on tour, so I'm really grateful to have seen it this time round. It's at the Dominion Theatre and it's on until January, so there's still some time to catch it. Next on my list is The Last 5 Years at the St James Theatre. I've gone to see so much at the St James Theatre. I just love that space. It was really great to finally see this show on stage. Next on my list is The Light Princess, which I saw at the National Theatre a few years ago. This show was beautifully done and the way they staged it was phenomenal at points, so loved this show. Next on my list is another show from the Shaftesbury Theatre, and that was The Pyjama Game. I had no idea what to expect from this show, but actually ended up really enjoying it. I can't believe we're actually coming to the end of the list now, this is insane. The next show on my list is Titanic, which I saw at the Charing Cross Theatre a few months ago. There is a video talking about that if you want to go check that out. I'm obsessed with Titanic and the history of it, so it was wonderful to see this show. Next we have Urinetown, which again I first saw at the St James Theatre. I also then saw the production of it at the Apollo Theatre. Have to say it was much better at the St James. Next we have another show that I saw at the Charing Cross Theatre, and that was Usher's The Musical, which was really funny, and having been an usher, I related to it a lot. Another show I saw recently was Vanities at the Trafalgar Studios, which was my first visit to the Trafalgar Studios, so it was great to tick another venue off my list. There's a video of me going to see that show, so you can go find that for more of my opinion on it. My penultimate show on the list is We Will Rock You, which was at the Dominion Theatre. This was another one of the shows that I first saw when I kind of got into theatre. I went with my mum to see it and she absolutely loved Queen, so that was quite like poignant for us to go and see it together. And I actually went to the final show of it in the West End, which was such an incredible experience. The atmosphere for that show was insane. It was amazing. And quite fittingly, the last show on my list is Wicked. The show that kind of started it all, really kicked off my theatre obsession, and it's the show that I have seen absolutely the most, having seen it in London on Broadway, at the Milton Keynes Theatre, Edinburgh Playhouse, and whatever that theatre's called in Salford. I can't remember what it's called. The Lowry, I think it's called. Yeah, I've seen it quite a few times now. Well, that is my list of theatre shows that I've seen so far. Wow, I need to go drink a lot of water after that. Again, I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Please do share with me in the comments below which shows from my list that you've also been to see. I'd love to hear them. Do give this video a like if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already for loads more theatre content. I hope you're all doing well, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!